So we are back to the beat. We already dealt with the issue of Stephen and his activities, which his contemporaries saw as blasphemy, as sacrilege against God, and which earned him his death, according to the story. The other followers of Jesus continued to go about talking, preaching with an addition to his message. The message this time was that the Messiah that Jesus prophesied would come had come, and that it was Jesus himself, but that instead of conquering the Romans who were oppressing the people, he conquered death by rising from the dead. This was the core of the message. Meanwhile, they were in fear from the kind of people that the story goes that they killed Stephen. And one of those figures was the Saul we mentioned in the last video. This Saul, at a stage, went to the authorities. So we learned from the Acts of the Apostles and got permission to move from supposedly Judea to Damascus, which was also, we believe, under the authority of the Romans, to bring back those followers of Jesus so that they will be tried and disciplined for preaching a doctrine that was contrary to the religion of their people. The New Testament made us to understand that this Saul was born in the city called Tarsus, which would be in present-day Turkey. He was a Roman citizen, but the whole story is also that he was Jewish. On his way to Damascus with his companions, something that was to change the world happened. Remember, he was going to stop these people that followed executed Jesus. And on the way, a beam of light struck his eyes. He fell down from supposedly his horse, blind. And a voice came to him and said, Saul, Paul, why do you persecute me? His name was Saul. But I believe the name he heard, you would need to cross-check that. It's Paul, why do you persecute me? He believed it was the voice of Jesus, and that voice told him to go back to the city. That's to Jerusalem, meet the apostles of Jesus who would tell him what to do. He was still blind. He managed to get back to the city. Initially, the apostles, who knew him by reputation as a persecutor of their kind, didn't want to associate with him. They tried to avoid him, but somebody came and vouched for him, and they accepted him. And he told them what happened to him, and he became their partner in spreading this message that we know as the Gospels. Remember, we have already dealt with the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They are the story of Jesus. They are the stories that his apostles were spreading and teaching and preaching. So he joined them in doing it. But there was disagreements. These apostles he met were like Jesus himself, people who were born in Judea, that is the land of Israel, while Saul himself, or Paul now, was born in Turkey. So you could easily see that there will be cultural differences. They would have a lot in common because they all believed in the figure Jesus, but at the same time there will be a lot of differences because they were born in different places. Those born in Judea, like Jesus and his apostles, the way they see the world will be different from the way somebody who was born in Turkey would see the world, because these were different realms or societies. But they agreed on one thing, that Jesus was the Messiah whom God had sent to redeem the world, and that he was not going to redeem the world, or that he was not supposed to redeem the world by solving the problems that humanity faced day by day, but by subduing death, by rising from death himself. They had this belief in common, and they had other issues, doctrinal, like those ones that walked with Jesus directly believed in strict observance of the laws of their religion, which we would know as Jewish law now, like avoidance of certain food, circumcision. As time progressed, you will see how Paul rejected all that, said it didn't matter, that all that mattered was believing that Jesus was the Son of God and that he died and removed sin. Interestingly and instructively, this guy that did not meet Jesus in life, he only saw Jesus in a vision, ended up some people really believe that he founded Christianity because he did more than all the apostles put together, including Peter, whom Jesus anointed the head of his church. Paul did far more than all of them. He traveled throughout what we will call the Roman world. That was the world of Rome. Remember, Rome was the colonial power. So all the territories it had brought under it were called the Roman world. Paul traveled throughout all of them, setting up churches. Everywhere he went, he set up churches and continued to preach. Ultimately, from tradition, we learned he was killed in Rome. That's what tradition tells us, and this is, in a nutshell, the stories in the Acts of the Apostles. The most important character there was Paul. And do well in your readings, using the recommended and required texts, to examine this character very well. If you know him very well, you have known a lot about the culture of the New Testament. Thank you. Don't fail to reach out to me and the TA if you have questions you need us to clarify. Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of the day.